All right. Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Come on in, get settled in.
Morning. Good
Morning.
afternoon, depending on
Morning.
where you are.
Yes. Good morning on the Midwest and West Coast, and good afternoon on the East Coast and beyond. Thank you all so much for joining. Happy Friday Eve. This is Coach Stella coming to you with another segment of our career journey. Come on in, get settled in, grab your beverage of choice. I'm very excited to dig into this conversation. All right. It sounds like we are live both on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. All right. Coming to the stage, we have Mr. Obina Ekweme. Good
Hello, hello.
afternoon.
How you
How are
doing?
you doing?
I'm good. It's the summertime, so you can't be upset. This is what we kind of wait throughout the year for. So it's finally
Ab-
here, and trying to just enjoy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope you're staying cool.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been some heat waves these last couple of weeks here. All right. So, welcome everyone. Coach Stella coming to you with our another segment of Career Journeys. We have the wonderful and talented Mr. Obina Ekweme, who is going to talk through his career journey. And I'm so excited for you all to hear his story and all the strategies and advice that he's used and implemented throughout the years, and in the hopes that you all can take and be inspired. So, without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. Um, we will start off with introductions. Obina, if you could tell us about yourself, your background, and anything you would like the folks to know before we dive in.
Yeah, sure. So, I've been at Kwame, CPS product. Played soccer and basketball growing up. Ended up playing soccer in college. Kind of took that and ran with it. And then once it things kind of dwindled down in my soccer career, picked up, kind of started learning about the financial markets, and did some trading. Uh, Changed my major to econ, and now I'm a real estate professional. That works basically in publicly traded and privately traded REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, and doing the risk analysis on that end for Bank of America.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So for CPS, Chicago Public Schools,
Oh
a
yeah.
product of the Chicago Public School System. Shout out to CPS.
Yep.
All right. So let's dive in here. So you talked about your college experience and you going through it as a student athlete. Let's back up a little bit more and talk through your K through 12 experience. I'm curious to know, growing up, what I know we always get asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was that for you? What was your vision as a child?
Since I was 4 years old, it was always soccer. Growing up in a household where, my parents really valued education, obviously that was a super important component as well. And ought to have been at the forefront of everything that I did. But for me, it was about being able to play soccer. And my dream was to play professionally since I was a kid. So that was what I was working towards. And then being someone who lives in Chicago, obviously, we play basketball. So, I grew up playing basketball too, but soccer was always that was always my goal.
And when did things change for you in college?
Well, sophomore year, I played a little bit my freshman year, which was my goal. But sophomore year, in the kind of in the early stages of sophomore year, I ended up tearing a lot of different things in my knee, ACL, LCL, capsule, my meniscuses, like everything all at once. So that kind of made me switch my focus a little bit, um, and really try to figure out what I could do or what I was good at from an educational standpoint, when I was in college. So.
Okay. All right. So career ending injuries occurred. And then, so help me paint the picture for me of how you made that shift once you came to terms that professionally soccer was not going to be a realistic goal for you. How did you make that shift into back into your academics?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, I rehabbed first of all because I wanted to make sure I came back and played.
Mm.
I thought to myself originally that maybe I'll be one of the first people, that would come back from an injury like that and still play professionally. But I understood that the chances were a lot more slim. So my focus was really on trying to figure out what it was that I'd be able to do post, college, if that dream actually, really didn't come true. Because you're taught at a young age that, only a small amount of athletes make it to the professional stage. So just without injuries, that was still a long shot. But with those like injuries, it kind of switched my focus, and had me trying to figure out what I was good at, and what I enjoyed doing. And I made some mistakes along the way, um, in college and trying to figure that out. But I ended up figuring it out in the end. Um, so,
Can we name a couple of those
oh
mistakes?
yeah, for sure. So originally I took a test that was supposed to point me in the right direction in terms of what I liked and what I ought to major in. And
Mm.
that pointed me in the direction of civil engineering and construction. So I started taking those classes, statics, dynamics. I took electrical engineering class, all of which I was not very good at, and I didn't like. So I didn't do very well. Um, and I ended up having to take an elective, which was macroeconomics. I had taken micro, and I really didn't like it. But I took macro, and I realized that I actually was really good at it. It was super interesting, and I enjoyed learning the material. So that's when I started doing research in terms of like what I could do with that type of degree. And I made the switch.
Okay. I like, so you took a career inventory assessment and it pointed you in direction of engineering, civil engineering. You took those courses and figured out not only did you not find joy, but the grades weren't reflective of someone who should have that skill set.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it was through electives. You know, a lot of people always argue the importance of electives in college, but it was through an elective course that you found your path into the finance industry.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when I end up switching my major to econ, really get invested in the school of business. I
Mhm.
came to find out that my microeconomics teacher was the only teacher in the department that was not full time, and they ended up not keeping her because she wasn't a good teacher.
Mm.
So the rest of the econ classes I started taking, the labor and economics, that kind of stuff, they were great. I loved my teachers. I was good at I was getting, A's in all the classes, like high, like 95+%
Mhm.
A's in those classes. It was material I enjoyed. So
Okay. So it
uh,
wasn't you.
it
It
wasn't.
was,
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, dang, like this, like we would have tests on stuff that we didn't learn, but we supposed to have read about. And I'm like, dang, that's
mm.
not really, you didn't tell us that, but
You know,
it is what it is.
that's we the a trending term now is gaslighting. And it's
Mm.
like, when it's like, man, is it me? Is it
Yeah.
me? Am I not learning the material? But then come to find out, no, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It
And
wasn't
other students shared that sentiment, to be honest, when we were taking that class. So it wasn't just me.
me.
But you live and you learn. Here I am.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. So let's fast forward a little bit. After college, you ended up getting your bachelor's in
Yeah.
economics. So talk to me about how you landed your first role and how you went about that.
Yeah. So originally what my plan was to maybe work for the federal bank, Federal Reserve Bank. In order to do that, what I would have needed to do was to get there was a dual master's and PhD program. I think it was at UT Austin. Can't remember, don't quote me. But that was my plan. But around that time, I started trading futures and options and trying to figure out, like, really understanding the financial markets, because now I'm taking finance classes as well, and accounting and all that kind of stuff too. And I ended up meeting somebody who ended up being the head of a department at Republic Bank of Chicago, very randomly, to be honest. But once he found out what I was doing on campus, and I was a student athlete, I was doing this on the side too, and I, really talked about what his vision was in terms of what he saw in me. I bought into that, and I got pretty lucky, but definitely was someone who was very persistent about, like, I want this. Like, what do I got to do? I think I'm a good fit. I would work super hard. This won't be something that you regret. So they ended up actually creating a position for me in the bank that didn't exist.
Awesome. All through talk to me a little bit about your persistence. What did you do exactly?
Well, first of all, it started with research, really understanding what it was that he does or did for the bank, and how I could be somebody who could assist. Because, like I said, the position didn't even exist. But I talked to him about, like, what I understood about financial markets, what I'd learned in school, what I was doing outside of school, and why it was important for me uh, that having a position in the financial markets would be something that I would thrive in, and really just selling myself. Um, and he saw the vision. So I graduated in May the year before, and I had a position the year prior. In November, they had offered me the position. So my last semester, I kind of knew what I was going to do.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you went into your senior year, you got through your senior year knowing that you had this role, that honestly you just were persistent with the person who was the head of that department, and in marketing yourself and saying how much of an asset and impact you would have within the organization.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
amazing. Amazing. So what were some highlights? What were some lessons learned from that role?
Just to just continue to be someone who's willing to learn. Because, I came in thinking I would be doing one thing based on the job description. And when I started, I was doing something completely different. But luckily enough, I was willing to put the work in to understand what it was that I needed to do. So I was hired to be in the wealth management department as a portfolio analyst, which essentially meant that I would look at clients' investments and try to decide if we could do something better with, you know, a, a slew of different, like, stocks and options and bonds and stuff that they would have in a portfolio, um, and sell the bank. That was what the job was supposed to be. So I got my series licenses at the time, which was what was required. But when I started, I actually had a dual role. They wanted me in two different departments. So I worked in wealth management and I worked in commercial lending at the same time. Um, and the idea behind that was, in commercial lending, most of the clients. So I worked as an underwriter essentially in commercial lending, which just means that, a business comes in with a loan request, and that loan request gets vetted by an underwriter. Like, I, look at the history of the business, I look at their financials, I look at their request, and see if it's something that would make sense for the bank to approve, and if so, at what interest rate. And a part of those loans included a personal guarantee by an individual. So you own your business, but you also personally guarantee that if the business can't pay the loan, you'll step in as an individual and pay it. Because of that individual, we also had to look at the individual's taxes and the individual's personal financial statement. So guess what? On the personal financial statement, you could see all their investments. So therefore, I would look at that component as well. And if it made sense to do the loan, we would try to deepen the relationship by bringing in the personal investments to the wealth management side, which is also what I was doing. Dual role.
What were your hours in that dual role? That seems like a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, at the time, the bank didn't open till 6 a.m. So I was there at 6 a.m. every day. But not only did I have my two roles, but I also was studying for my series exams when I first started. So I would be leaving at 6 p.m. to come back home every day. Those were my hours
12-hour days.
every day, 5 days a week.
Wow. Wow.
And
The
then studying
grind,
on the weekends,
was that normal? Is that normal for someone in your industry, in your even at
Um,
your level, your level in
you
your
know,
role?
that's subjective, right? I mean, because when you first come in out of college, you can fill your time learning anything. It doesn't even have to be work related. Um, I was the only hire at the time. So I felt like a microscope was on me in terms of just making sure that I did my role, not only did my role, but also, whenever you're working, you're kind of interviewing for the next role, right? So, and people are watching, whether or not you realize it or not. I wasn't really doing it for them. I really wanted to get my series licenses. I wanted to be successful in the role.
Mhm.
But that was why ended up, continuing to get promoted in that, from position to position and, in terms of my career. And it's kind of where I am now.
Awesome. So let's talk about that. So you did that role for how long?
So I had the dual role for about a year, until they decided to do away with that program. At the time, I didn't know it was a pilot program because I'm not in executive leadership, but they ended up asking me whether or not I wanted to kind of transition into more of a financial planning role, financial advisory role. And I was like 22, 23. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. That's not why I came here. I thought I would be doing portfolio analysis, remember? Which is what I was doing initially. But they wanted me to start bringing in clients of my own. I didn't feel like I was ready for that. Or to be a full-time underwriter in commercial lending. And since I worked at the bank, that first year, I understood that they were making the majority of their money from commercial lending and commercial real estate specifically. So I chose to be a full-time commercial real estate underwriter.
Okay. And what were any challenges or barriers you experienced along the way
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
full-time underwriting role? Let's talk
Absolutely.
about
I
it. Let's
mean,
dig in.
so the thing is, when I started working as an underwriter, my boss isn't the person who hired me. I was hired by the people in wealth management. So there was already that, we didn't hire you, but you have to be here type of um, energy I felt. No matter how my work looked, they didn't hire me. And I felt that in a lot of different ways. I told you that, I would come in at 6 a.m., right? And when I started working full time, that's what I was planning to do because there was a lot of work to do and I wanted to make sure I got it done as quickly and as efficiently and with the best product that I could put out there. So that was what I tried to do. But my boss at the time didn't want to allow me to come in early. He wanted me to come in with whoever the first person that from the team, whenever they would come in. And that wasn't until 7:30. So I'll come out and I'd wait in the parking lot for that person to pull up and I'd walk in. And that happened for months at a time, until I found out that I actually did have access to that room. I just wasn't given, he just didn't give it to me. Um, that would, it wasn't communicated with me so that I would have to wait for somebody else to, come in with me, which seems kind of odd. But things happen in corporate that you just try to do your best. It was an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
situation. But
So
again,
you
like I
never,
said, people are watching, but whether or not you realize it, people in the office, people in the bank, people in the institute, whatever institution you're working in, they're watching what you do. And maybe like a year and a half after that, I got approached by the head of our commercial lending department. Uh, Changed the trajectory of my career. And that was as a commercial lender, which just meant that I'd be the person that brought in the deals, but I also was given the opportunity to underwrite those deals too, which was is kind of unprecedented. Typically, there are two different people, checks and
Mhm.
balances. After I'd underwrite the deal, the head of our underwriting department would take a look at my work just to make sure that I'm not just trying to bring in anything.
Okay.
But having that opportunity really changed the trajectory of my career. And I was
Awesome.
happy in that role, because the person who was my boss now is actually the person who wanted me to be there.
Awesome. So, Obina, I'm sorry to cut you off. It looks like we may have some tech issues. If you're just now joining us, welcome everyone. We are live with Obina as he's talking through his career journey in commercial real estate financing. Thank you all so much for joining us. If on Instagram you lost connection, we are on Facebook as well as YouTube. But you can also feel free to catch us on YouTube, catch the replay on YouTube. But thank you all so much for joining in. I'm going to pause for the cause here and let you all know a couple of things we have going on. We have a grassroots campaign. We're here talking about career journeys and navigating today's workplace and yesterday's workplace, how we navigated it. We have a grassroots campaign going on here, the Let's Be Fair campaign. The Let's Be Fair campaign is really just letting employers know that where we work still matters. We are all looking for not only roles, but organizations that see us, value us, and do what they need to do for us to show up as our authentic selves to get the work done. We are no longer trying to survive the workplace. We want to show up and thrive in the workplace. So we have this grassroots campaign. Click this QR code here, sign the petition, pass it on to others. For all the signatures we get, the more CEOs we're going to reach out to and let them know diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace still matters. And so please click on to this grassroots campaign, learn all about it. Signatures are kept confidential. So sign, pass it on. Let's make some noise. Let's make a difference. Let's be fair. All right, let's come back into the studio here. So, Obina, I want to just clarify. You talked about there's all people are always watching. People are always watching. And you talked about the barrier of, you know, barriers that really didn't make sense to you, but yet you navigated. You weren't allowed to be the first one into the office. And so you just waited around for the designated right person to be in the office. But as a result of that, folks outside of your department took notice and you got a promotion based on that. I think it cut out there.
Yep.
So if you can just say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I wasn't looking for a promotion. To be honest with you, at the time, I was trying to figure out how to get out. 'Cause I'm like, they're not, that type of barrier in terms of um, not being able to come in early, especially when, I mean, that can only benefit the bank in my mind. It didn't make sense, and it just seemed like something that was done to make it so I wouldn't be as successful in my position.
Mhm.
So I was interviewing for other places. But God acts in mysterious ways. I literally was underwriting a loan, and like I said, the head of our commercial lending department came up to my cube and was like, "Hey, do you want to you watch the Bulls?" I'm a huge Bulls fan, so that was, of course, yes. I had no idea what he wanted, but I went to the game with him, and he offered me the position, and I almost fell out of my chair. To be honest with you, I can't even tell you who the Bulls were playing that day. Everything is a blur. But yeah, that changed the trajectory of my career, and I'm definitely grateful for that. But it didn't come without a lot of hard work and perseverance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So where are you now in your career? And if you can talk me through how you've landed in your spot right now.
Yeah, so I went from that position where I dealt with strictly commercial real estate to another position at another bank where all I did was what's called CNI, or commercial industrial deals, which are business deals, business that may have real estate too, but really you're trying to get loans approved that are for businesses. And that opportunity was a little bit more inclusive in terms of not just the lending component, but also other parts of the bank, like deposits. How much how much does business have in their checking account, and how much in treasury management, or treasury management being how businesses pay for things. Whether it's ACHs, wires, how they pay their employees, all that kind of stuff. I transitioned to that position. I did that for about 3 or 4 years. And then now I work on the commercial real estate banking team at Bank of America, strictly commercial real estate. But instead of underwriting loans, so, new loans, I do what's called monitoring. So after the loans are approved, um, I monitor, how the loans are doing. Um, Looking at different types of trend analysis, doing reports on these publicly traded and privately traded real estate investment trusts, which are a lot larger deals than I was doing when I was an underwriter. Um, but it's strictly based on risk. So I just say I work in risk for the commercial real estate banking team at B of A.
Okay. And so, since college, what additional certificates or education have you had to obtain or accrue to get to your current role?
Honestly, in the roles that I've had, none of them require certificates, but for me, it's been about trying to make myself as marketable as possible. So, I went out and got my real estate license. I passed the CFA levels 1 and 2. You know, Continue to just try to be a student of the game, basically. And just be able to talk about a lot of different topics, because you never know who's gonna stop by your cube and offer you an opportunity based on what they've seen your performance look like.
And for our students and scholars in the room, a CFA stands for.
Oh, chartered financial analyst. It's a 3-level exam. Yeah, so working on level 3 now.
All right. All right. And so, to the younger generation, so we're talking students who are either applying to college or on their way out, approaching junior, senior year. What advice would you give them coming who are trying to branch into your industry?
I would say, use LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is a very good resource. Um, Try to introduce yourself to people in the industry. Because a lot of people, you reach out to them and you really have a structured message, not something that's generic that people can tell that you're sending to hundreds of different people. Most of the time, they'll respond and may give you 30 minutes to, just talk about what they do. And maybe you can introduce yourself and talk about what it is that you are looking to do. But being able to use that as a platform to kind of leverage in terms of expanding your understanding of the financial industry. There's so many different positions out there, even some that I probably don't even know about that exist. And people that are doing those jobs love what they're doing, and they may not have even known about them when they were in your position. That's what I would say. Um, yeah, and when it comes to being marketable, if you think that you're interested in a specific industry, try to find out what those, the senior managers in that industry have from a certification standpoint, and start working on that, because you know it's difficult out here to find a job as somebody who's coming out of college. So you have to find ways to differentiate yourself. And the easiest way to do that is to say, "Hey, I got this certificate." That's what I would say.
Awesome. And as far as transferable skills, you were a student athlete since pre-K. What transferable skills would you say you're currently using from your student athletic journey?
I probably use the word balance because you have to. I mean, you're juggling. traveling out of town once a week to play a game and come back with trying to make sure you're getting the best grades possible. And if you're involved in the extracurricular activities, if you decide to, pledge some sort of, Greek organization, or you're a part of some club, all those different things take time, and there's only so much time in the day. So really finding balance, and understanding what sacrifice looks like, is something that I learned being a student athlete since I was a kid.
When you talk about, so in your 20s, you're working 12-hour days. What was work-life balance for you, or did that exist?
Um, you know, just to clarify, when I was working 12-hour days for the first maybe 2 years of my career, it wasn't all throughout my 20s, but um, those first couple years were a grind. I mean, I can't even say that they were hard because I knew what I was trying to achieve. So waking up at 4:30 in the morning so I could make sure I could work out before I get to work, and work taking an hour to get to, um, was just something I was doing. It was just a routine, that I knew was temporary. But I had certain dreams and aspirations in terms of what I pictured my salary looking like and what I would be able to use that salary to invest in. So it wasn't, I wouldn't say that I felt like I was missing out on a whole bunch of stuff, my first couple years.
Thank you for pointing that out. It was a moment in time. And I appreciate you also saying what your routine was, getting up and moving, the workout, to then go into the grind. That's what I mean when I say work life balance. A lot of folks think work life balance is, the 40, 50-hour week, and then how are you but it's about how are you taking care of you while making impact in the work.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating that thank you for highlighting that. I just wanted to amplify what you said a little bit more. Waking up at 4:30 to work out, and so you can get to the office, your hour commute, and get to the office, before be the first one in the door, and also recognizing you're keeping your vision, your goal in mind. Right. This is the salary. This is all the things that I have, and so this is what is needed for me to get to that point, and it's only a moment in time. It is not your
Yeah.
whole. It is this is not going to be forever,
Right.
and nor should it be. It's not sustainable, and it's a clear path to burnout. So thank you for amplifying that. All right. Thank you, everyone. For those who are just joining in, we are live with Obinna as he is talking through his career journey in the commercial real estate finance industry. One more thing I want to plug for those who are navigating their different careers, or if you are just now getting out into the career field and trying to understand all these different strategies that Obinna talked about and past guests have talked about. Diversity at Workplace, myself and my colleague, Sue John, we're doing a Power Moves workshop on July 23rd. It's a virtual workshop from 9 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Click the QR code, learn more, but this is a workshop geared towards helping you all navigate different pitfalls in your career. So like I said, whether you are just starting out, you experience a setback in your career or a pause, tune in. We will definitely you'll walk away with some strategies that you can implement day one to get you back in the driver's seat of your own career journey. So hit the QR code, take a picture of this QR code, and feel free to reach out for more information. But save the date, July 23rd, 9 to 4, in a virtual platform. All right, Obinna, thank you so much for joining in today. I have some spitfire questions for you
Okay.
to help
All
us
right.
end on a positive note. Are you ready for them?
All right. Yeah, let's do it. I'll do my best.
All right. Okay. All right. Top of mind thinking. Don't think too hard. If you didn't have to work, how would you spend your 50 hours a week?
Oh, oh, that's pretty easy. I would be in the gym trying to play soccer. And then I travel to different parts of the world. Hopefully, I'd have all the money that I would need to, move how I would like to move. But yeah, I go to different parts of the world, starting with Nigeria. I don't go as often as I would like. Um, going 2 or 3 times a year might be a little bit better. More warm weather. But yeah, that's definitely where I would do. Work out, play soccer, and some basketball, and travel a lot for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Staying in movement. I love it. What was your last touch grass moment? Meaning, when was the last time you were outside?
Outside, like, what do you mean outside? Just like,
Any other, your last adventure, your last outdoor adventure?
oh, a couple friends of mine actually, we went to Greece. What was it like a couple weeks ago now to Mykonos? That was a fun trip. Definitely got to experience Greece and to just go to the different beaches and the different venues. All this is super historic space, and you can see why. So that was a lot of fun. Definitely glad I went.
Now, did you truly unplug or did you remote work?
I remote worked one of those days.
Okay, I'm gonna get on y'all. That's that work-life balance that I'm talking about. Remote work. It is
Yeah,
hard for people who are remote workers to take their PTO. Take the PTO, people. It's there for a reason.
yeah, I
But
struggle with that for sure. I'm
that,
never that person that wants to take PTO.
listen, and it's we can get on the how the culture, the Nigerian culture, has played a part in that PTO. How we just leave PTO on the table. All
Yeah.
right. What was the last book, TV show, podcast that you found impactful?
Ooh. Um. Wow. I mean, I've been doing all three, so I'm trying to think of what the last one that I read was the Four Agreements. Can't remember who the author is though, but it's the Four Agreements, and it just talks about basically how to just be the best person you can. Being impeccable with your word. Not taking things personally that happen. Always doing your best. Those are three of the. I'm trying to think of what the fourth one is. It's not coming to mind. But just being the best person you can be and understanding that other people's actions, it's not personal. um you just you see how people move and you move accordingly. So yeah, that's what I would say. Last book I read.
Yeah, the four agreements are on constant rotation for me, and that one of not taking things personal is on constant repeat. All right, and then the last one is, what was your last act of kindness that you showed to someone or something?
Ooh, well, my car got towed a couple months ago, I think maybe 2 3 months ago. And when I got to the tow area, paid for my car to come out, but there was a lady there that didn't have the funds to take hers out. And she promised me to the heavens that she would pay me back. It didn't really matter though, in the long run. But yeah, I helped her get hers out too. So act of kindness. It's the first thing that comes
Uh,
to mind.
yeah, that is, I mean, it's life saving. I can't imagine not having access to my vehicle. And Chicago tow companies are no joke.
Yeah,
So
not at all. And it
yeah,
was pretty cold outside, so I guess that kind of tells you how long
that is
that
an
was ago.
amazing act of kindness. Thank you. Obina,
So,
thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you all found all his nuggets and strategies and stories inspiring. I hope you take some things from what he shared with us today and use it to chart your own path in your career journey. Obina, is it okay to invite folks to reach out to you on LinkedIn if they have any
absolutely.
questions or
Yeah,
informational interviews? Okay, awesome.
absolutely. Yeah,
Awesome.
I get all the notifications whenever someone adds me or sends me a message or whatnot. So,
All right,
yep.
folks, you heard them. You heard them. When we talk about finding mentors and sponsors, it doesn't just fall to us. It doesn't just come to us. We have to do the work and seek them out. So you hear Obina Live saying reach out on LinkedIn. If you don't hear back, persistence. You heard him talk about it and how he used it and how he used it and it's been an advantage to him. So stay persistent and stay open to opportunities. Those are some nuggets that I heard Obina share with us today. All right, thank
Absolutely.
you, Obina, so much.
No problem.
Have
Glad
a
to be here.
great weekend. And everyone, we will see you back live next Thursday with some more career journeys and impactful stories. Take care, everyone, and have a restful weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.